regular session on March the 17th, 2020, 10 a.m. Commissioners Courtroom, County Administration Building, 200 South Texas Avenue, Suite 106. First item on the agenda is invocation of pledge of allegiance to the U.S. and Texas flag. Commissioner Colley will lead those.
Will you bow with me? Father, we bow before you this morning with humble hearts, thankful hearts, concerned hearts. We, first of all, want to thank you for this day, for this is the day that the Lord hath made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. As the business of this county is discussed today, Lord, grant us wisdom that we might be able to make the right decisions that would be right for all or most when we can't please all. Dear Lord, we thank you for our first responders and our servicemen and women. We thank you, Lord, for the officers that protect us as we slumber and sleep. We thank you for the rights that we take advantage of here in this country. And Lord, we know that we're facing a lot of things that we have not had to face before. There are victims that we haven't met. There are victims that we know. There are victims that we'll never get to appreciate. But Lord, we thank you that you are the one with all power in your hands. We ask you to bless the families that are suffering the loss of loved ones all across this world. We pray, Lord, that you will bless us to make the right decisions and protect ourselves from hurt, harm, and danger. We realize the government can't do it all. So, Lord, give us the wisdom to make the right decisions for ourselves and our families, our community. Again, Lord, we thank you. We praise you. And we lift you up in all that we do and all that we're about. In the mighty name of Jesus, we pray this prayer. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas.
One state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Second item on the agenda is call for citizens' input and/or concerns. And I don't know, Judge Hill, you wanted to speak. I don't know whether you want to speak here or do you want to speak on a specific item?
No, basically court proceedings in JP court.
If you really have something to say, you want to say it.
Do it now?
Yeah, well, that's fine, or we can do it at the next public hearing, or if you've got a specific item you want. We have recalled it at the end. Yes, that's fine. Is there any call for citizen input or concern? Hearing none, we will have a presentation and discussion by Dusty Tittle, Mr. Asa Gillison, assuming the extension agent position for disaster assessment and recovery in the Brazos County service area.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hey, on a fun note, happy St. Patrick's Day.
All right.
Look at the women wearing green. How many men are wearing green? I'm not.
I
So
forgot mine.
there's a few that keep up with that. So anyway, it's my pleasure to announce Mr. Asa Gillison. Asa is just started with us within a few, 7 days, 10 days, not too long ago.
7 days.
He will be assuming the extension agent position for disaster assessment and recovery in the Brazos County service area, which is Brazos, Burleson, Lee, Madison, Leon, Robertson, Milam, and Williamson counties. So he has a big area. And I had three main things that I wanted to make sure that the court knew. A, he doesn't cost you any money. True. Okay? He's paid
That's
for a
great.
whole
Like it.
separate deal. He's a
Great.
resource that's here for our court. And Miss Michelle, he's a resource that's here in case of emergency or whatnot. And that he does cover a lot of other counties. So we can't monopolize him on every little thing, but we need to get everything out of him that we can when he's available. So I'm going to ask Mr. Gilson to talk about himself real quick.
Great. Hi, my name's Asa Gilson. It's my favorite thing to do is talk about myself. I'm a veteran, Navy veteran. I was a volunteer with the Red Cross for 2 years. I met Miss Mary a couple times in my time with the Red Cross. I have a master's degree in international disaster management, humanitarian management. As far as what we are bringing to the table as DART agents, like Dusty said, we are state funded. That means nothing's coming out of the county as far as we're concerned, and we are a resource. We are connected with the state of Texas and A&M, or A&M and the state of Texas. So, and we're developing things as we go. The COVID-19, we're going to be directly involved with that. Any flooding mitigation, tornadoes, issues with cattle, horses, agriculture. And we're going to be coming up with plans through each municipality, so in each county. So we're going to come together and we're going to get some kind of mitigation and or response plan as we go. It's brand new and we're shortly being thrown into the deep end. So I appreciate your time. That's it. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Timing sounds like it's perfect for a disaster.
7 days. Coronavirus. Here we go.
His office is not with us. He'll be in our District 9 Extension office. They're on campus right now while their building's being renovated, but if you'll need to get a hold of him, call Zimmerman. They'll be in the
Noted.
same building.
Thank you.
Did anybody have any questions? Anyone? No? Okay.
All right.
You gonna stay?
Ma'am?
Are you gonna stay?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's great.
Next is consider and take action on agenda items 4 through 19. Number 4 is request from the Health and Wellness Clinic to accept 6 $10 gift cards, a total of $60 from Hot Dogs, etc., to be awarded as prizes for raffles and contests held by the Wellness Clinic.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 5 is acceptance of donated unclaimed property left by inmates leaving the Brazos County Office of Sheriff's Detention Center.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 6 is request from CCL for a payment authorization to Verizon for the February 2020 cell phone bill in the amount of $124.41. A purchase order was not obtained in advance.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 7 is request from Fleet Services for a payment authorization to Napa Auto Parts in the amount of $129 for shop supplies. Purchase order was closed prior to processing the payment.
Move approval.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 8 is request from Sheriff's Administration for the following personnel changes. Effective date is March 21st, 2020. This change will have a decrease in the FY20 Sheriff's budget in the amount of $1,009. A, decreased patrol lieutenant.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve A and B. Second, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 9 is approval of the election services contract with Texas Voting System, Inc. for May 2nd, 2020 BIS Bryan Independent School District Special Election, ESD number 1 Special Election, and ESD 2 Special Election.
Move approval.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 10 is approval of election services contract with Texas Voting Systems, Inc. for April 18, 2020 College Station runoff election.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None motion carries. Number 11 is approval of an infrastructure development plan for Watson RV Park, A003800, L. McLaughlin, OCL, Track 2, 26.08 acres, sites located in Precinct 4.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None motion carries. Number 12 is consider and take action on FWP Holdings LLC utility permit to install a temporary 10-inch polyurethane water line within and along the right-of-ways of Macy Road, Edge Cutoff, Shortcut Road, Edge Schoolhouse Road, a distance of 14,690 feet. Project will provide water for an all well, sites located in Precinct 2.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None motion carries. Number 13 is consider and take action on FWP Holdings LLC utility permit to install a temporary 10-inch polyurethane water line within and along the right-of-way of Wheelock Hall Road, a distance 5,400 feet. Project will provide water to an all well, sites located in Precinct 2.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None motion carries. Number 14 is approval of the January 2020 Treasurer's Report.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None motion carries. Number 15 is expenditure journal entries FY 19/20, 030020 through 030024.
Move approval. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None motion carries. Number 16 is tax refund application for the
Move
following.
approval A through D.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve A through D. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None motion carries. Number 17 is budget amendments. Budget amendments FY 19/20, 24.1 through 24.11.
Move approval. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None motion carries. Number 18 is personnel change status.
Move approval. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None motion carries. Number 19 is payment of claims. Claim to be paid by Brazos County. Claim number 802-4148 through 802-4346.
Move approval. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 20 is an acknowledgement of the interlocal.
Skip to the addendum, or do you want to wait to the end? I think that with the.
We can go ahead and go to that. We might as
Well,
well,
we can finish.
We usually do the action stuff.
before we do
before we go to
the acknowledgement. Okay, that'll work. So we're going to move to the addendum, which is to discuss and take possible action on extending Brazos County's declaration of local disaster for public health emergency. So everything's been moving at a pretty rapid pace here in the last week, 2 weeks. And so when the governor had declared the disaster, and I've talked to some county judges who in fact had already declared disasters, and the reasoning was that there's a lot of local business that are already suffering from this. I mean, it's an economic downturn because people are trying to stay away from, whether it's restaurants or, just going out and shopping. So for those businesses to be able to access, whether it's state or federal funds, the county needed to declare a disaster. I didn't do that because we had cases of the virus, and I was afraid that we were all going to die. That wasn't it. It was really so that the businesses could access both state and federal funds. The county judge can do that for a 7-day period, and then it has to be passed and renewed by the Commissioner's Court. So I declared the disaster to give those businesses access if they can document that they're economically stressed, and they can provide all that documentation, they can access funds. Then we had to take a look at, well, what do we need to discuss on Tuesday? Well, when we started all this, it was the discussion was, I think it was Montgomery County passed something that's saying 250 at their county facility, and the thinking was kind of like that, but then it kind of changed to 50, and so we left it blank about whether in fact we want to pass anything or not, but we needed to have a kind of a placeholder on the agenda to have a discussion about, okay, how do we move forward? The whole court, it'll be a court decision, and so we needed to have that discussion. So we put I think it was passed, Ed, wasn't this one you got from maybe, I don't remember what it was, Montgomery County or one of the counties? This is something that one of the other counties that passed, and
Correct, Judge. We got this one from Montgomery County. Some of them look very similar, and some of them are all encompassing, where they cover not only the county facilities, but also the rest of the public areas as well, with guidance or encouragement in regards to private facilities and groups.
so since then, I mean, the president came out and said, 10. But I think Michelle pointed out this morning to us that it says that 10 where you have a high risk factor. If you've got folks who have compromised immune systems, whether it's, let's say, hospitals or maybe nursing homes, or, there's a lot of areas that you wouldn't want to have a big group coming in and exposing those people. So anyway, we put that on the agenda kind of as it came from Montgomery County or wherever it came from, to kind of take a look at and discuss this morning. We don't necessarily have to pass anything, but the discussion needs to be had looking in the future about what are we going to do. And I mean, the rules have kind of changed to where I think we could even have an emergency meeting. I mean, it's like hour to hour things are changing. So we had our first positive test for the coronavirus this morning in Brazos County. But it was a traveler, and my understanding is that there were a young person who came back from, I don't know, but they were traveling, and so I don't know that there's been much, if any, exposure to the community from that person. So I don't think this is something yet that we need to get all excited about and get upset about. I think it's something we need to be calm about and try to make decisions that are reasonable and logical. One of the things that we're going to need to discuss this morning, I mean, we've got a number of events that have already canceled at the Brazos Center, and I'm not sure about the expo, how things are going. There's some canceling out there. But there's one event coming up, like real quick, is the Youth Livestock Show that we probably need to have a little bit of discussion about, and I know that the board met this morning, the Youth Livestock Board met this morning. I've been talking with Charles and a couple of the board members about if there is a way to have that and keep people safe, and but still have that show happen out there. And I don't know, Charles, whether you want to come up and kind of share with and.
If I can, Judge, Commissioners, Matt Stokes is chairman of the board.
Okay.
And he and I will double team it and kind of present
All right.
what we discussed.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
So we met this morning and tried to come up with a plan, like you said, to keep everybody safe. So we looked at canceling some of the non-essential events where big crowds would be gathered, such as the Queen's Dance this Saturday, and just hold those key functions to get through the week. And then we've also discussed postponing the sale 60, 90 days to give that, because that's our other, I guess, our second big crowd gathering would be Saturday night. So, and also moving that up with the help of the Expo Center, starting Thursday and be done Saturday night.
So, and that's what Charles and I talked a little bit this morning briefly about, I mean, as this thing moves forward, we've got one confirmed case. I would guarantee you that there's going to be more coming. And as it keeps on building, it, you know, my concern was if it's not this week, but next week, it would, who knows what'll happen. I mean, it seems to change every week about what we should and should not do. So, and I think y'all have talked about maybe bringing it and starting maybe this Thursday rather than next Thursday for the, what do you call the, to do the,
To expedite the different species and get them showed.
yes.
Yes, sir.
And do it in a way that you won't have big groups of people out there at any one time. It'll be, I mean, you might want to kind of run through the discussion.
Yeah, so we talked about each species, you know, specifically, and then breaking those down into waves. Like we have 64 swine exhibitors. We're going to break them down into at least 2 waves to limit the total crowd. Broilers, rabbits, steers, doing the same thing there, having multiple waves, spreading out over the grounds of the Expo Center, and not having that big crowd at any one point.
What kind of decision has been made on the commercial steer show?
Right now, the sale would be postponed, and we'd have that sale at a later date with the premium sale. There are 13 of the commercial steer exhibitors. So if it's limited to the exhibitor and their parents, we would be able to stay under the threshold.
And that's held at a private site?
Not at the
county
Expo
facilities.
Center.
And part of the push, Judge and Commissioners, for this to happen, these kids have spent all year, in some cases a
Yeah.
couple of months, but they've invested, you know, not only their time, their effort, but in a lot of cases, a lot of money in this. And so I'm sure as everybody's aware, you know, there's other shows that some of these kids have an investment in that they were not able to hold that show. And so this is an opportunity, if they have that animal entered, that they can come and hopefully get some reward and maybe a future, a little bit of a payoff at a sale at a later date. So we're trying really hard. Matt and the board have been working really diligently, and the division chairs, to try to come up with some accommodations that would hopefully, you know, we got to keep everybody safe regardless.
Certainly.
We want to comply with the Commissioner's Court wishes and the public health officials and so forth, and then try to have something that will let these kids bring together the final culmination of these projects they've been working on so far.
So basically, if you go ahead and have the different aspects of the show, you won't have spectators. It'll just be the
Contestants and their
families.
and their parents. We even talked about limiting brothers and sisters.
Okay.
I mean, they wouldn't be allowed, just parents and the exhibitor.
And then we would, as the board, we would help work with enforcement of that. If we see a group of people, we count, somebody got to go one way or another. We think we have the numbers split. Matt's worked hard, try to get these numbers divvied up and into a manageable size that we can, through space separation and or species separation, or within the intra-species, we can have enough there to accommodate everybody and keep the numbers manageable.
I want to help them a little bit. I just judged the Robertson County Queens contest last night. It was supposed to be this coming Saturday, and they've moved all their stuff up as well, and they limited just to a mom and a dad, no grandparents, no siblings. And my grandkids are showing tomorrow, so they can't take their 2 kids. One's 6 months old and one is 6. Steers and heifers are tomorrow, and then they're moving everything in up till Friday, and then their sale's gonna be at a later date as well. So they're doing the same thing. They're trying to let the kids show that they've raised them all year as well. What county was that? Robertson County. So they're trying to do the same thing. that their
And Madison
Brazos
County has
is.
worked on the same kind of scenario and setup.
Just no spectators, no siblings, no nothing, and it's on their webpage on Robertson County as well.
And I think Harris County is doing something similar for the for the specific species. So,
But basically
Tina,
all.
if you could identify yourself and.
I'm sorry, I'm Tina Skinner, with the Brazos County Collections Department, and I volunteer at a lot of county fairs. And
For anyone that does address the court, please identify yourself before speaking. Thank you.
But basically, all the kids will be able, there might be a different time, but they'll all be able to show their animal.
that's the
Correct.
plan.
The only difference is the sale will be at a different time.
Yes.
That's the plan.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the SCS and AgMech would be at the later date. 'Cause some of those AgMech projects are stuck in schools where they can't get them. So the SCS, the baked goods, haven't been done yet. So that can be done in conjunction with the sale at a later date.
Thank you all for the efforts that you're making, and as a grandparent, I really appreciate the thoughtfulness that you're working through this. It's nothing like having kids disappoint.
Well, and I don't think we need to make a decision, but I think if we can just kind of give some direction with Carl, I think I think I saw your head nod that you could make it work if they.
Yeah, we can. We're just gonna use 2 barns, and, you know, we'll bring them in by species and try to get it done. But we've got really, we don't have anything going on. A big horse show canceled this weekend. So if we need to move over to an arena to tie some of them up, just for staging, you know, we'll do whatever it takes to make it happen.
Okay.
So long as the safety of the kids
Right.
is paramount, I think it's great that you're gonna go ahead with, because these kids have put a lot of time and effort into it, and their heart and soul in it, so.
Yeah. And I think of those seniors that won't have another time or another chance, so thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, and the order,
And Judge, if I may, can I address the court?
sure, come on.
Judge, I don't want to throw you off because obviously you may have already got in your mind how you want to handle things. I think it would be important to go ahead and address the issue for the extension for the emergency or disaster declaration. I think that was actually the first thing that you brought up that the court needs to address. And then in reference to the order, I think just aside from the fact that obviously we have an event that's already been pre-planned and there's a way to accommodate a group of 50 or less. And there's obviously a huge emotional attachment to this for obvious reasons. But I don't want that to overshadow the fact of the order itself, which is quite encompassing if the court would choose to pass an order either today or later on this week or even next week, because the ramifications are far-reaching and that would affect public gatherings in the city of Bryan, in the city of College Station. I know that at this point they haven't been consulted, but again, as the judge stated earlier, these were, it was intended as a placeholder because we anticipated this was something that needed to be addressed. And we don't want it to be a knee-jerk reaction and have some contemplation going into effect, which I know the judge and the court will take into consideration. I know the judge has gotten information from Dr. Richards this morning, which is our medical director, as well as numerous other sources in the past 2 days. But again, I just want the court to be cognizant of the all-encompassing of this order and potentially any order that it does put in place, and the fact that it can issue an order modified for our particular situation and change it moving forward if the situation deteriorates. But and then of course the administrative leave policy that's currently on the court's agenda.
Well, in the order that's on the agenda, you know, I really wasn't thinking that we would, I think we have the authority to do what this order says, but it seems to limit what happens in College Station and Bryan. And I really, this was all kind of like a big boulder running downhill, and so we're all trying to make sure that we got things in place if it became necessary, because the You know, facts change like every hour. And so, but this particular order seems to say that we're gonna control what goes on in Bryan and College Station in their facilities. And that really wasn't my intent. I just wanted to get something on here that we could open up money to businesses. That was really what my thinking was, is that we needed to, everybody out there, nearly every business out there is going to be impacted. We're going to be impacted. We're already being impacted. And so if the state or feds open up money, and that's what they're talking about doing, and you can prove that you have a loss, then you may qualify for it. So that was, when we put this in place, that was the intent. I don't know whether we want to pass it as is. We may want to kind of revisit a little bit, and we may want to tweak this thing some before we actually pass the court passes the disaster. I think this one was for 7 days, so it's still in effect.
And the 7th day would be when?
I beg your pardon?
Tomorrow is the 7th day.
Well,
Isn't
I
it?
think.
I mean, you know, if I'm reading it correctly.
I think that we can, I believe the governor may have changed some of the rules. Ed, you may want to remind me of,
Renew the 7 days.
that we don't have to do the, if it's an, am I
We're
correct?
asking.
That we could have a meeting sooner than a 3-day posting for a
Emergencies.
specific, like
Emergency.
passing a disaster. Is that?
Correct. Under an emergency situation, we put as little as an hour posting notice.
So I guess, and I don't want to get into that unless we have to, but I don't know that we're ready. You tell me what your legal opinion is of that, Ed, you know, of what I signed, and whether we should make modifications before we actually pass something. And do we want
the extension or the order?
the extent?
Extend the
The
disaster
order.
Yeah.
I think that's the question. Should we
Is-
extend this order?
I'm not exactly, Judge, if I can approach, see what
Yeah.
you're looking at.
Well, I'm looking at the I guess that's the disaster, but I guess I'm thinking on ahead at the whether we're going to do you know, the 10 people or 50 people, or you know.
Well, and I think those are two separate
Okay.
issues, because the order of the declaration itself doesn't,
It doesn't address
it
that.
doesn't address the limitations on mass
Okay.
gatherings. It's
That's right.
just
Okay.
a basic disaster declaration, and that's
Okay.
what the extension is that's on as well. The
Okay.
order for mass gatherings is actually a separate document. It's
That's right. Okay, so I guess we do need to pass the extension of the declaration, correct?
I would like to offer a motion to extend the declaration another 7 days, or do we want to go 30 days? Because this is not going away.
No, it's not.
No.
And I don't know that we need to keep doing 7 days at a
I
time.
think this is called for 30.
Yeah, it calls for
Okay,
30
so it would be
after
30.
the 7.
And thank you.
Okay.
So the motion would be to extend the order for 30 days.
I second that motion.
Okay, motion made and seconded to extend the declaration. Any other further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None motion carries. And then the second item is the amendment to that's the amendment to the Brazos County admin leave policy. And so we've had discussion about, okay, what do we do if we have to limit the courthouse or the whole county about, you know, having the public come in and whether we're going to be limiting the staff. And again, it's not that we're fixing to do that. It's, you know, trying to prepare for that if it happens, you know. So that's really what we've been, you know, trying to put in place is a way if it happens and if things get bad and we have to basically shut the county down except for essential personnel, how do we deal with it? So that was what that discussion was about, and
What did you say, how much time it takes to do that we can?
1 hour.
We can do it in 1 hour
1 hour, okay.
if needed.
So
But you know, we're much
I think if
better
we,
on
you know,
top
we
of
can do it
things
in
than that.
an hour's time. I think that we could progress on and not really do it at this time because
Yeah.
we're just not sure yet.
I mean,
My thought.
I agree. I mean, we're in uncharted territory, you know, so it's,
I don't want to make a decision that's gonna make some
Well,
things
the
even worse
declaration
without,
is more
if
to
we can do it in an
protect.
hour.
And to comply with my own request, Ed Bull from the County Attorney's Office. Commissioner, what was contemplated here was, we're not asking you to make a decision in this particular instance. What's important for the law is a gift. And that's what the auditor looks at, is if the court were to provide, court or judge to provide administrative leave for, under any circumstance that's currently contemplated by that amendment, which the amendment for that administrative leave is just the first paragraph. Otherwise, it stays identical. But it is in order to address those situations that could be catastrophic in nature, whether it be weather-related, in this case, due to epidemic, or other circumstances that are similar, that it authorizes the court, even though court does technically have that authority, for the purposes of the auditor's office, that it's not seen as a gift if the court were to grant administrative leave in situations of shutting the county down with having essential people remain, or even during potential quarantines or things like that of individuals that have been traveling to known areas that have been affected. So again, as Judge Peters says, it's in anticipation. It's not that we're asking for a specific policy. This is pretty broad for anything future that might happen, even in regards to, you know, another hurricane or so forth.
Okay.
so do we need to take action on that?
We are asking, I guess, the court for that approval, so it's already in place. And then if in the event that further action, specific action needs to be done.
That's the phone.
think it's on.
That's Steve.
If in the event that's more specific action does want to be taken by the court, then we can do that under emergency circumstances as they arise.
Would you would you repeat the action that's proposed?
Currently, it's to discuss and potentially approve the current amended administrative leave policy, which includes authorization for the court and/or county judge to grant administrative leave. Currently, it only allows for elected officials up to 16 hours.
Okay.
But if we approve that, then that goes into effect.
It's not granting it, it's not
It's
saying
Said
it.
you can.
Yeah, it makes the way, it opens the door.
Gives us the opportunity
Authorize,
to
it's a good word.
authorize it if we so choose.
Yeah.
Well, that's the main thing, it's something that doesn't take effect today, it's something that.
No, it doesn't take
Judge
effect.
can say, okay, we're gonna do it now.
Right, we're
At a
not
certain
saying
time.
it.
It's just gonna give us the opportunity to do it.
Yes,
should we-
It's-
opportunity
yes,
is the key word.
Ministerial in nature only, not that it's active.
Mhm.
Judge, I'd like to move that we move to approve the amendment to the Brazos County Administration Leave Policy.
And I second that motion.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to approve the amendment to the administrative leave policy. Any further discussion? I see our auditor.
Do you have?
So, you want to,
Please.
Katie Connor, County Auditor. Two things. First, I'd like to spread the word that if you don't have direct deposit now, is a good time to think about it. Second, I would caution that department heads, unless the county judge and commissioners court exercise what you are considering passing, department heads would still be limited to the 16 hours of admin leave until that action by court or county judge is taken. I would assume an announcement would be considered an action.
Yes.
Does that clarify?
Yes.
Elected officials technically don't have to follow Commissioners Court's personnel policies.
Right.
And so if a timesheet was turned in with 24 hours of admin leave or more, it would be approved. So I know we don't always like to clarify that, but that's the case. Department heads, though, and their staff would still be limited.
Mhm.
Any questions?
so by
Does that make sense, Ms. Berry?
passing this morning, though, it does,
You're just giving yourself the authority to do
right,
it.
no, I'm not saying, I'm not saying that automatically happens. It's just that if the occasion, if things get bad enough that we have to do something, then Commissioners Court or me can say, okay, that's what we need to do.
Right.
And I'm just clarifying how I would view it for reviewing timesheets and asking questions as far as what's been authorized.
And we thank you.
Okay.
All right.
So basically, we're right.
Judge?
Still authorized.
Judge?
Yes, that's all it does. It just gives us the ability to do that. Okay, motion's been made and seconded to,
I'm
for
sorry,
the-
Judge, we have another hand over here.
Oh,
Irene.
okay, all right.
Just for a point of reference for the Commissioners Court, 1 week, 2-week period for the county, the payroll would be 3.2 million. So I know that that's something that you'd like to know. So if the county were to shut down, obviously that includes any essential personnel, that would be the total.
3.2 million in payroll every 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Well, I mean, my hope is that this doesn't get anywhere close to work, but I think we're just trying to be prepared just in case it,
Exactly.
the worst case scenario, we want to be prepared for it, but
Exactly.
I hope that doesn't happen. So, okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. And the third is to discuss and take possible action on the order 20-004 affecting the occupancy of premises throughout Brazos County. And that's what I was referring to a while ago. All right. And I think with that one, we don't necessarily have to take action. That's the one I was talking about that
Affects Bryan,
yeah, if we
College
passed it as
Station,
is, it would affect Bryan and College Station, and we hadn't, I didn't contemplate that in my mind when we were trying to put this together. We used a sample from other counties, and then, moving forward and trying to get this thing done, we put it on there. So I think right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ed, but I think we need to probably take a second look at it, maybe tweak it some, and then maybe bring it back before we start passing. Or do you think we need to pass something with a number in there currently? What do you think?
I would like the judge to have a conversation with Keene Register and Brian Wood
Yeah.
to find out
Yeah,
what, to find
exactly.
out
Yeah, no,
before we pass anything so that they're comfortable with
If
it.
it's,
Right.
yeah, before we pass anything that affected them, I would.
Yeah.
When we were doing this, I wasn't even thinking about that it was gonna affect them. I was just trying to worry about our facilities and all. And then when I noticed, or someone brought it to my attention that might impact them too, that's the reason I thought we better
So-
take a second look at this
Yeah.
before we
So
start.
Ed, what's your interpretation?
Again, Ed Bull from the County Attorney's Office. I think the court is on the correct course of action. Again, the power of the court to enact something like this is quite extreme and may be appropriate given the fact that other counties are doing it in other places. But there does need to be a dialogue, I think further dialogue with those cities and full understanding by the court as to if this goes into effect, how that's going to affect the population and the public. Especially since last week when it was contemplated, we were looking at a number of 250. That is, given the guidance of the CDC, that went down to 50 as of Sunday, and then the guidance from the White House is now down to 10. For some populations, and that was Michelle Bailey Mead from Emergency Management. So it is something that may need to be acted on sooner rather than later. Those conversations need to be held. And again, as the judge pointed out, these conversations need to happen with the court, and that only happens with the notice. So, but I think it's not a requirement. I don't want the court to act too decisively today and regret that decision immediately upon passing it. I think the court needs to be sure as to what they enact.
So I would
So we
be
can
open to table.
Yeah, I think it's
Table
something
this
we need
till
to
next week,
Yeah.
and
make
then
sure
we'll,
that we're right
we'll
on
have a
it.
better idea of what's going on and gives the judge an opportunity to visit with
It-
those individuals.
And
And if things change quickly, we may do it before next week.
Right,
But
we
if-
can do
if
that.
next week's fine, then we'll wait on then.
I'd like to
Maybe we don't-
offer a motion that we table this until next week,
Second.
and
Motion.
we'll work on it in between.
Okay, motion made and seconded to table it. Did you have any further
No, I was
discussion?
just going along with the deal, but to give you a chance to tweet on this
Right.
thing.
Okay.
Make sure that we get it right.
Exactly,
Yeah.
All-
exactly.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries.
Carl has got his hand up.
So,
Carl?
moving forward past the Youth Livestock Show, what does that mean for the expo and the Brazos Center? Are we
You
still
mean-
open for business?
Well, we haven't done anything, but we still need to take cautions, just like,
I realize that, but it's either yes or no. I mean, we're open or we're not.
Yeah, we're
No, you're
open.
open.
It's not
We're
hard.
still open.
But are we restricted to the 50 people?
we haven't passed anything restricting it, but keep in mind that most places have gone to
Have that.
something, whether it's 250, 200, or whatever. So,
Well, that's pretty
Livestock
much
show
shut
should
down for
address
us
that,
because we
since
don't
we
have
haven't
anything
had-
less
Less
than
than
50
that.
people.
Mm-hmm.
When you think,
But that's fine. I just wanted to know, because
No, I think
I've
you're
got
still in
all kinds of
business
people
until we
asking me
pass this.
about, are we canceling, and even all the way through April. So I just, I'm just giving them day to day. We're open as far as we know we're open right now.
Mm-hmm.
well, then we would be, because we're not taking an action today.
Okay. That's all I
I
need.
can't tell you that between now and Tuesday, we won't take some action, or Tuesday, we may take some action,
yeah,
but.
I think since we didn't take action right now,
They're
the
open.
event should police its own self on the way the kind of things are, whether it's 50 or 200 or whatever. They need to kind of police their own deal until we pass something
Okay.
like that.
Yeah.
Well, I think.
Each event.
At the end of the day, it'd be my decision, if they get over 50 people. I mean, I know they're supposed to police it, but really, we're the ones that have to police that, as far as I'm
Right.
concerned.
Right.
Okay?
You're in.
I mean, if they say they're gonna have 50 and they show up with 200 people,
Yeah.
we're the ones that have to shut that down.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, that finishes the action on the addendum, and we'll go back to the acknowledgements. Number 20 is acknowledgement of the interlocal agreement between TTI, Texas A&M University, and the NPO. 21 is an acknowledgement of comprehensive annual financial report of BVCOG for the fiscal year ended September 30, 2019. Number 22 is juvenile director's report on detention population. Linda.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. We have 22 youth in detention with 13 males and 9 females. We have 15 on electronic monitor.
15?
Uh-huh. Yes,
I have
ma'am.
a question. Given the circumstances, Linda, Do you have any special plans to release any of the juveniles that aren't threatening to the public, or have you made a policy or changed a policy?
Yes, ma'am, and, oh, I'm sorry.
Your criteria for detaining children during this?
Linda Ricketson, and I'm the Executive Director of Juvenile Services.
Yes.
And yes, we have made some changes. We are, at the present time, the judge is having us send our probable cause statements over for her to review each day,
Okay.
so that if we have any children that can go ahead and be released, that we would do that. We have also adopted pretty much the same policy as the Sheriff's Department about how the kids will enter detention, temperature will be taken, and that we will monitor that situation. We have an isolation area.
Okay.
We have met with health officials
Great.
last Thursday morning, and then we also yesterday came up with new rules for what we're going to do with our staffing, and as far as visitors coming in, we're not allowing that. We will probably, as of today, start having parents make phone calls, let the kids call more, and we will not be having visitation just to control the traffic. We also are not making any trips to placement areas because
Good.
they right now are not taking new kids, and they are
Right.
not wanting officers. I'm also keeping up with TJJD and what they're advising around juvenile services around the state. I did send Barbara Smith an update for the court, and I've notified my juvenile board of, we are also, not allowing officers out in the field right now. They're making phone calls, and we are not doing surveillance at night. We're making phone calls, excuse me. It's allergies.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm just mainly limiting access to our building, people coming in and out. And so we will meet again Friday morning, if not sooner, depending on what becomes necessary. And I mean, that's, does that kind of answer your question?
It
But we
does.
are keeping the court informed. The court is,
Great.
very much probably canceling some of the cases that are not necessary right now.
Uh-huh.
We're having detention hearings
Okay.
unless we absolutely have to have a case. So we are trying to limit all of that.
Well, thank you, and
All right.
sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Number 23, Sheriff's report on inmate population. Sheriff.
Judge, Commissioners, good morning.
Good morning.
583 is our population today. 484 are males, 99 females. We have 59 with electronic monitoring and 13 are pending.
It's been a while since we've been below 600.
It is, and I think you can look forward to it declining some more.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Number 24 is an announcement of interest items and possible future agenda topics. Hearing none, call for citizens' input and or concern. And judges, do you want to?
Rick Hill, Brazos County Justice of the Peace, Precinct 3. Good morning, Judge Peters, Commissioners. Wanted to kind of tell you guys that I'm here representing the 3 other JPs as well. Precinct 1, Kenny Elliott, Precinct 2, Terrence Nunn, and Precinct 4, Selena Vasquez. We obviously have been in contact with each other quite a bit over the last week. Justices of the Peace Court, Office of Court Administration reports that 90% of all the cases in the state of Texas at any court level are entered into in justice court and municipal court. So for the vast majority of Texans, the only experience they have in court is with a justice of the peace or a municipal court. The Supreme Court, we are committed to keeping our offices open and fully staffed. We last week we visited about taking extra precautions, and we have those precautions in place. At the end of last week, the Supreme Court and the Court of Criminal Appeals issued an emergency order that basically allows us to modify, adjust, ignore in civil and criminal cases any sort of deadlines or court cases for non-essential things. As you know, justices of the peace are pretty much the landfill of all types of cases in Texas. We hear pretty much everything. And so we have discussed, we actually met early this morning, and you know, there's a lot of things that we do that are non-essential. That have to happen immediately. We have small claims court, we have eviction hearings, we have criminal misdemeanor hearings, we have school cases. We all had dockets. I had 3 dockets of school cases coming up in the next month. So what we have decided to do is we are suspending all of our non-essential cases. We will reset those at some point when it's appropriate. We are committed to keeping the citizens of Brazos County and our staff safe. We have implemented, we will, again, like I said earlier, we'll be fully staffed, we'll be open. We will encourage individuals to e-file, communicate with us through email, through telephone conversations. And so we do a lot of that now. A lot of our cases are e-filed already, and there's no reason to have a conversation in person with individuals. We get all of our tickets and citations pretty much through electronically as well, so we don't have to have person-to-person communication with that. Talking about essential things that we do, magistration is one of those. We do that every day, 365 days of the year. We've been in communication with the jail and the sheriff's department with that. We actually do that by video. So we're in our courtroom, they're in the jail. I know that Sheriff Kirk can talk to the precautions they have taken. I know they've implemented a lot. We will continue to do magistrations. Also, death inquests. Death inquests are an essential duty for us to do, to investigate deaths and be caring and compassionate to our citizens. The law actually says that we have reasonable authority to have inquests in any place the judge decides is necessary.
Yeah.
And what that means is we don't have to go to a scene necessarily for an inquest. We've all actually done inquests by phone. Mm-hmm. You're talking with law enforcement, you talk with family, you have all of the information you need. You can make your decision on whether you can, and hospitals will fax us, email us all the information we need to make a proper decision on whether an autopsy is needed or not. Mm-hmm. And so, again, the Justice Training Center has also talked with us about, they've sent many communications about the eviction process and things like that. This is a situation where we also want to serve our community, but we also want to keep them safe. Okay. So we're going to do the essential things that we need to do. We're going to be in constant communication. We may have to alter it in the future, but we think that we've had a measured approach to this and a significant approach to this. That's what's needed. So we wanted to share that with the individuals in this room as well as the public. We're actually crafting a public information release on this. We're going to be posting this on our doors, but we are open for business. But we are taking precautions and we are encouraging individuals to do it in a variety of ways other than showing up at our court, which is very possible.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is anybody? Yes, sir.
Questions? I guess we shouldn't be any back and forth discussion.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. We are going to meet with the sheriff after this meeting. We've had communications, but we think we're doing what's right for this community.
Great.
All right.
And since, Judge, he brought up the sheriffs, I failed to ask the question, have we modified any criteria for our jails during this period of time? Releases, or are we taking temperatures? What?
I can speak a little bit to that too.
Okay, what precautions are we taking in the jail?
Just from the magistrate's point, we magistrate every individual who's arrested in Brazos County every morning. In fact, I'm leaving here, and I have magistration this week. Judge Nunn has it next week. I'm leaving here going to do magistration. We've got about 15 individuals.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have the authority to, if warranted, to make our own decisions as a magistrate on whether or not, if in consort with the with the sheriff, we feel like nonviolent criminals of misdemeanor nature could possibly be given a personal bond, not a PR bond. All right, I'm going to get that out eventually, that PR bonds do not exist in Texas. Personal bonds that are unsecured are what? Everybody says PR bond. All a personal recognizance bond is Ms. Cawley, do you promise to come to court? That's good enough for me. That's a PR bond. But we in Brazos County don't issue, really, it says PR, but we issue personal bonds. It's a $2,000 personal bond that's unsecured. However, if they don't show up for court, that bond can be revoked. All right, that's part of the bond reform that needs to happen in Texas.
Yes.
We don't have PR bonds. They don't exist in Texas law. And so, but we have that authority, if warranted, in conversation with the sheriff, to do that if we need to. You want to? We're going to talk about that later, right?
And thank you.
All right, in response to your question, Chris Kirk, Brazos County Sheriff. Currently, we are screening everyone that comes into the jail. And we have criteria laid out that if someone that screens positive on our criteria, then we will direct them to be medically cleared before they put placed in our jail. If they reach a certain level of our criteria, but not that level, then we might, we'll take them in and do them medically within the jail and use the facilities that we have to control that environment. We do also have plans that will be triggered at different levels as to the restrictions of who will be allowed into the jail. And so as this progresses, if it gets worse, then we'll trigger one and then ultimately the other. We are very worried about introducing that virus into our jail.
Yes.
And so I assure you, we have a plan to control that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
We appreciate everything.
Judge?
Okay.
Michelle.
Oh, Michelle. Come on up.
Michelle Mead, Brazos County Emergency Management. Just wanted to throw a couple of other things out to everybody in terms of plans that are being worked on across the county. We've, Jason and I met with our volunteer organizations active in disasters yesterday in terms of number one, what they're going to see as this continues. We have a lot of citizens that are going to be impacted across Brazos County in terms of loss of wages, loss of income, in terms of their being able to pay rent, utilities, that type of thing. The United Way 211 has set up a couple of things. Number one, anytime we come across someone that needs some assistance of some kind, we want to refer them to 211 to see if we can match them up with resources that are either currently available or will be made available as time goes on. Number two, the state 211 system has set up a hotline, if you will, that has medical personnel on the other end. So if somebody calls 211 and has questions about coronavirus, if they will pick the language, number one, that they want to use, either English or Spanish, and then past that, ask for option or do option 6, they'll be connected with somebody that has a medical background that can answer questions about coronavirus. And again, by driving them to 211, then they can always come back and talk to one of the specialists there if they need additional assistance.
Okay.
We've also we're under disaster declaration, so that means any activities, any purchases that are coronavirus related, we need to be tracking. The other thing that we need to get a handle on is how badly our businesses are being impacted. There hasn't been a lot of guidance coming down yet from the state to the sbc.gov website that I have been able to access. It may be there and it may just be getting hit so many times that it's just hard to get through. But those information about how they can get those large low interest loans will become available as time goes on. So a lot of things going on, and if there's any questions, certainly we're available to answer those questions.
Thank you.
All right.
Judge, I got
Okay,
one
come on
question I
up.
just need to know. Isaac Butler, Constable, Precinct 4. I just want to know is all the courts in the courthouse going to be on the same protocol? If they have in court, cause I see what the JP doing, but is all the other courts going to be following the same guideline? Because I know some courts have in court now. So,
What?
is y'all gonna decide that, or is the
we don't-
judge
we don't-
gonna decide each one of the courts that they gonna have people coming in? Because I know some courts we bailiff for, they allowed to have 20 or 30 people in the courtroom at one time.
Well, in this portion of the agenda is the public input, so we're not supposed to be responding back to questions.
Oh, okay.
So
I just wanted
I can't
to-
answer you, because
Okay.
that's
That's
state law, but
I know I hadn't heard it been mentioned. And another deal I had to have, I know y'all didn't pass nothing for county-wide, and I just was listening to see what you're gonna pass anything to say just for the county, not inside the city limits. If we gonna limit stuff on private stuff, cause I know it been a whole lot of people calling me that they wanna have something on their place, and some of them people have 400 or 500 people. So I just told them to call you. And that way you can
Thank
tell
you,
them,
Isaac.
yeah, what, I couldn't have, that's the reason I tell them to call you, so you can tell them yay or nay, if they can have this in the county or not. Cause I done had 4 or 5 calls, they wanna have some, and I said, well, you have to call the county judge.
Rick Hill, JP Precinct 3. All the judges had conversations. There was some emails that were sent out. Judge Smith, the district judges got together, the county court at law. They have precautions in place. They are doing things to ensure the safety of the citizens. What I'm saying today from us is it's the 4 JPs. There's nothing that says we all have to do the same thing. Our courts, I know that they are doing things to limit the number of people that come into court at any one time. They are doing things like that. That'd be something that they could address, but I do know that it is being addressed. They are having court, yes, but they are also doing it with precautions in place.
Thanks, Judge. Anybody else? Hearing none, the next item is to adjourn. Thank y'all.
Thank you.